So I've been having way too much fun messing around with SteamOS, and it's been so much fun that I want to install SteamOS on the Pinova P2 with the Ryzen 3 4300U. Since this is one of the top selling systems on Amazon, I want to know what SteamOS is going to do for a system like this. And we might even lock in and upgrade this system to 32 gigabytes of RAM, because right now it has 16 gigabytes, but it's in single channel, and that's really limiting. So I might just throw in 32 in here, and we're just gonna full send it into SteamOS, and it's gonna be full SteamOS. It's not Bazzite, it's not Cache, it's straight up SteamOS version 3.9. We're gonna put it on here. We're gonna see how it goes. Okay, I talked myself into it. I'm gonna upgrade it. I was thinking, oh, I'll try it without the upgrade first. But let's be real, it's gonna be dog shit. That's just what's gonna end up happening. It's gonna be absolutely awful. So let's just avoid the hassle of going through that disappointment. And then we're gonna just straight up put 32 gigabytes of RAM in this thing. Okay, so I think I'm using my other 32 gigabyte stick on, or rather the kit on another system. So I'm just gonna use these 16 gigabyte sticks that I had in the RAM box. And that's perfectly fine. I mean, realistically speaking, this pairs better with it anyway. Not like we needed 32 gigabytes. That would have been kind of just overkill for it either way. But really, the main point is to just get that dual channel. And immediately, what I thought was going to be an easy process has turned into a headache, because apparently the SteamOS installer needs an NVMe. It's kind of just looking for one, and we don't have one. Apparently, the system has a SATA drive. It's a SATA M.2, but it is SATA. So I have two options. I could either go all Hannibal Lecter and kind of just harvest a NVMe drive from one of these systems that I have around here, or I kind of just say screw it to SteamOS and go with something like Bazzite. And as much as I would like to get up inside the guts of one of these computers, I think it's probably better to go with the Bazzite option, since that would just be swapping over to the other USB that I have over here. So we're just gonna do that. Luckily, Bazzite installed perfectly fine. I mean, this is no surprise. It's kind of just meant to install on more general purpose hardware. What I'm trying to do with SteamOS is kind of just more of a workaround, since SteamOS isn't fully released and available for anybody to install, so it doesn't really have a proper installer. So for now, we're just going to stick to Bazzite, and I'm going to run through the whole installation process. And well, after getting it up and running, I had to now go through the process of figuring out what games would potentially even run well on this very low-end hardware. You know, it is the 4300U, so we have only 4 cores, 4 threads to work with. We do have 16 gigabytes of RAM to work with, but the GPU is just a 5-core Vega graphics chip, and it does not clock very high either. So I downloaded Dishonored on here, and this was running at the lowest graphics settings pretty much, at the full 1080p resolution, and we weren't getting a 60 FPS. We would sometimes touch 60, but it's really something more that's towards the 40s to 50s range. It's playable enough, and it very much feels like the kind of console experience that someone would have playing this game when it first came out, but it's nothing remarkable at all. I was hoping for some better performance out of this, but honestly, this was playable enough, and considering just how low end the chip that we're using is, this is about as good as it's going to realistically get. Next, I took a look at Alien Isolation running with all of the lowest graphics settings, though it is the full 1080p resolution, and again, similar experience to what we were seeing with Dishonored, where we're hovering anywhere between the 40s to 50s range for the FPS average, but we're not getting to 60. Still, if you look at the frame times, they're very consistent, and that does mean that the game is going to be very playable on here. And even with the lowest graphics settings, it still looks good. It's one of those games where the visual difference between the lowest settings and the highest settings is not that dramatic, which is great to see because it does run well on most systems out there. But keep in mind that in certain segments of the benchmark, it is going to go down into the 30s. Still, this should give you a pretty nice console-like experience on here. And that's pretty surprising because in all honesty, I thought this one was going to be a disaster. Of course, one game that did effectively end up being a disaster was Killing Floor 2, here running with the lowest in-game graphics settings, and I had to drop things down to 720p to get anywhere near a playable, consistent experience. Does it look great? No. But does it play great? Also no, but it's playable enough. Look, if you're someone that's playing with hardware that is this low end, chances are you in 1080p are not that acquainted. It's more you in 720p. And while if 720p is the target, you can play like this, which I guess you could say is a win. I did also try out Repo, and I had to lower everything to the lowest graphics settings for us to have a consistent above 60 FPS gaming experience. Thankfully, doing that doesn't really affect the graphics at all in this game, so it's still more than playable. You're effectively not going to miss out on anything, and it ends up being a pretty great experience. So this is pretty nice to see, because this is really one of the most popular games on Steam. Seriously, if you look at the top 100 most played games, this is usually in the top 20 at least any given day. And the fact that you're able to play that on a system like this, that's this low end, this is really impressive. This really means that for a lot of people, they can just install this game and start playing on practically any system that they're on. And I guarantee you're gonna have a lot of fun in this title, more so than even games that require the most ridiculous graphics card. All I'm saying is I'd rather play this than Borderlands 4. But really, the area that this system is going to excel at is playing 2D indie games. For example, Momodora here is running extremely well. This is the most recent title, I believe. It's called Moonlit Farewell, and it just performs beautifully on here. We have a locked 60 FPS average. You don't need more than this, and the system is not even breaking a sweat. And as you can see with Risk of Rain Returns, again, another one that is just a great performer because it's just a 2D game that will kind of run on anything. And that's really how you have to look at a system like this. It's essentially just a little tiny console that you're meant to play 2D indie games on, or just run emulated games, though I don't really cover emulation just because I fear Nintendo. I worry that they will take down the channel for whatever reason, and I don't really want to have to deal with that ever. But I know that emulation is very popular, and that is legitimately a use case for a system like this, though at the current market prices, it's just too expensive. For the price that you can get this system at on Amazon, you can get a far better system on AliExpress. But if you're dead set on buying on Amazon, I would really recommend just saving your money and going with something that's at least a bit more high-end than this. If these systems were available for $100 to $150, then there was a compelling reason to get this, right? But at over $300, it's just a tough sell. So as you can see, there are some clear issues with trying to use this system at all for gaming purposes if you're trying to do anything high-end. Even something like SteamOS is not going to do any miracles. It's still 5 Vega cores that are clocked pretty low. But still, for things like indie games, it does a fantastic job. Just make sure that they're 2D indie games, because a lot of 3D indie games, while they might look like they're low end, because they're made by indie studios, a lot of the times they don't really go too crazy with the optimization, and they'll be surprisingly heavy. But 2D titles end up being extremely easy to run even on a system like this. Of course, emulation is always an option, but that's really just up to you on whether or not that is relevant to you. Me personally, I'm not too big into emulation in general. I think I've maybe played a handful of emulated games in their entirety ever in my life. It's just not really something that interests me, but you do have a lot of potential here for emulation. And clearly the dual channel upgrade did do us some big favors here. But again, it's not going to make this very, very low-end cut-down chip do anything remarkable. But anyways, I hope you guys found this interesting. I'll catch you guys in the next one.